and welcome to the Astrology and Spirituality Show for week commencing the 27th of September with Alyssa and Patrick Arundell. And I have to say, Alyssa hasn't been very well with a tummy bug this week, so she's been very brave to pitch up to do this with me. I'll just go through the astrology quite briefly because it is actually quite an involved week. It begins with, of course, Mercury going into retrograde tomorrow, and that goes on through to the 18th of October. It doesn't emerge from the shadow period until the 3rd of November. Also, Mercury is in a tense right angle with Mercury at the start of this week. This is an aspect quite interesting in the times we live in that can point towards conspiracy theories. But of course, Mercury is very much about the planet of communication, and in the sign of Libra, it's about relationships, how we relate. But Pluto brings a kind of heaviness to the situation, which we just need to be conscious of. There is a quarter moon this week on Wednesday in the feeling sign of Cancer. Somebody around us could be a bit out of sorts. We may find ourselves being a kind of peacekeeper between two friends who are not getting on so well, maybe even two family members. But in a more positive context, Mercury retrograde gives us the chance to think about how we can improve the way we relate. So one of the big ways to do this is to sharpen up our listening skills. I think everybody has an opinion these days. And, that's good that we have the platforms to express ourselves, or everyone has the right to an opinion. Not everybody uses that right. But a lot of people can be quite strident, and with Pluto in the mix, we could sort of be browbeaten by someone, who's a bit dogmatic. But Mercury retrograde in Libra is asking us to try and stay cool, try and stay a bit more detached, see that others have a right to an opinion that's different to ours. But at the same time, where our relationships are going forwards in a very constructive way, the Sun's brilliant link to Saturn and Mars is linked to Saturn, they're both in Libra too, suggests that we could develop connections or a greater sense of security around certain friendships or alliances which do give us the kind of support and encouragement that we would like. Now, there's also from Wednesday to Sunday a beautiful link from Venus in Scorpio to Pluto. So that's another aspect to really celebrate the people we really love. So what is the Hermetic Wheel doing this week?
Well, let's pop that wheel on the screen. And we did have a flavour of this last week. We are still in Two of Swords territory. Two of Swords asks us to make a decision. We're totally pulled in two different directions when this card comes up. And we know that if we make one choice, the other thing that we were thinking of doing won't be possible anymore. So, it's understandable how we'd be so confused with this card. Feeling conflicted. Big choices to be made, but those choices do have to be made because otherwise, a bit like we said last week, that choice gets taken out of our control and then we no longer have a say in where we end up going. So better to make that decision as hard as it may be this week.
Oh, bless you. And thank you so much. I could have done the show on my own, but Alyssa is very, very hardworking, extremely dedicated, doesn't like to give in to any situation. And is a real trooper. So I have the greatest of respect, not just for this week's show, but all the time, at how hard she works. Now, in terms of the birthday horoscope winner, we didn't have an entrance this week. Nobody decided to enter. So if your birthday is from, I think it's the 4th of October through till what would be 4, 11, 10th, then please drop us a line with your details. You can do it through YouTube, or if you'd rather do it privately, just write to me direct. Go to my website, top right hand corner, there is a drop down box there and you can see Contact Patrick, and please drop me your details. So how this works, if you're new to our show, is that we select one person each week whose birthday is in the week of that show. And we go through it. I do a solar return and I do a natal analysis, but I do it completely without doing any prep before, so it's kind of a bit of a wall of death moment for me. Now, what we did have this week was 3 lovely words of the week suggested to us. So we had seraphic from Julie Gill. Thank you so much, Julie. We had serendipity from Malcolm Cook. Thanks, Malcolm. And reflect from Moonstone Soul. So what we're going to do, in the absence of having a birthday chart winner, Alyssa's actually going to go through these 3 now. So seraphic.
Seraphic. It's such a beautiful word.
It is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it basically means something that is angelic-like. So we might use it in a sentence if we see a choir sing, and we might say, the seraphic voices of that choir made me cry. Or if you have little ones and they're in any sort of nativity, you might say, oh, they had lovely seraphic faces when they were in that play.
That's lovely. I'd never heard of it. I mean, I can't really see me going to my favourite football club, Swindon, who I've supported since I was 5, and thinking that the singers in the town end were seraphic. I'm more likely thinking they were terrific.
Terrific. I don't know, if they're 3-0 up, you might.
Well, this season started, we've got this new chairman who's absolutely amazing, and he very much understands the whole concept of inclusiveness, which actually means a great deal to me, because I've got a Libra ascendant, and that way of working where you accept that everybody can make a contribution, and I think he's going about the project brilliantly. But it is a lot of new players come together in a rush. They really had no prep time, and actually they've started the season very well. So thank you to Cliff Morfuni and all the boys at Swindon Town. Right, serendipity. Now I said to you, isn't this just a form of good luck? And you said, well, not really.
It is, in a way. I like to think of it as it's a mixture of luck, fate and coincidence. Timing, all rolled into one. I mean, for example, we may be struggling to think of what to wear, and then when we remember that we have that old jacket in the back of our wardrobe, we put it on, put our hand in the pocket, and find a £10 note. I mean, that is serendipitous. It's things that bring us together. It's a series of events that actually work out in a very positive way. And I was telling Patrick the other day that I'd seen this video on TikTok about these 2 women who went to university together. They were roommates. They drifted apart. Years later, they ended up finding out that they lived in the same town. Their children met, and one of the children
you were telling me about this.
Fell in love with one of the other woman's boys, and they got married. And then when they were shopping for a suit, the other daughter fell in love with the guy that was selling the suits. And then the third daughter fell in love with the guy who was selling the suits' best friend.
It's just incredible.
So the fact they went to college together meant their children ended up with 8 children between them. That is perfect serendipity.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I hope that you enjoyed that, Malcolm. And please, and also Julie too, on Seraphic, please give us your feedback. And finally, reflect. In a mad, busy world that we live in, it's not always easy to find the moments just to sit down and just really, distill some of the craziness that's going on in the world. And of course, it is difficult to feel that we can have any influence on things. Big states, big technology, they are massive parts of our lives, and we don't always seem to feel that as individuals we can affect things very much. So when we reflect on things like that, it can be quite overwhelming. So then there can be perhaps a need to sort of check out and do something that gives us a sense of reassurance. So what would your take be on reflect?
Well, I think for Mercury in retrograde season, anything that begins with RE is just a fantastic thing to be doing. So reflecting, redecorating, rejuvenating. I think reflection as well, recalibration, just gives us a chance to think about where we are. I know, for example, that I haven't felt very well, and part of that is because I don't think I've given myself enough time to just reflect and absorb and just allow myself to feel. It's all been go, go, go. And the body is not a machine.
It's not a servant, is it?
No, it's not a servant. We have to look after ourselves, me included. So some reflection time, I think would be nice. It reminds me of when, you see toddlers in nursery and they have a little nap time in the afternoon or little reflection time. I think think as adults we deserve a little nap time.
That reflect is nothing to do with you spending hours in front of that mirror doing your
well,
makeup.
No,
No,
not at all.
Okay, sorry. Obviously, a very low
It's
shot
more
for
of
me.
a coincidence, dear.
No, Elisa doesn't do that very much. So I'm only teasing. So what about the modality of this week? Have you got a card, a deck that you're going to use in terms of Oracle?
Yes, something really gentle, really beautiful. The Nature Whispers Oracle cards. Big cards for my small hands to shuffle, but beautiful.
I love the
words.
colour of your nail varnish as well.
Thank you so much.
I might try that myself.
It's called Full Moon Party.
Oh wow, absolutely
so,
perfect.
I thought I'd go for astrological nail polish today. Okay, wow. So the word on this card is assurance. And we have here, the tree is made out of all these beautiful women, really. The trunk, it's all intricate. And assurance. I think this is kind of a little bit of a message to let us know that life goes in cycles, and even on this card, part of the card is winter time, part of the card is spring and summer. There is that assurance that time goes on, and I find that quite comforting, and that's another reason I find astrology very comforting, that everything is cycles.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite
Cronus.
comforting. What? Yeah,
Cronus. So the ruler of astrology could be argued to be Saturn, which in Greek is Cronus. So chronological. So we've had a faller at the Sixth Sense here in West
I think
Wales.
it was Cronus.
I don't know what's happened there.
Trying to make an appearance.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point that you've made there about reassurance. Yeah. It's a pretty unstable world we live in, and it's like taking a breath and knowing that when we are faced with challenges or very difficult things, most of all loss, I feel, or loss of loved ones or ill health, that other patterns can emerge in time. But of course, in astrology, some people do, in their natal horoscopes and then with their progressions and directions, they do just go through years of difficult aspects. And quite a few people write to me on YouTube saying, where will this torture never end? And, I can really relate to that. It isn't easy, and that's why I always try not to be too trivial in my responses. And, you can have periods where people have completely the opposite. They just have supreme periods of stability, prosperity, health, strength. And of course, the challenge of life, I feel, is for those winners to stay attuned to the people who are not finding it so easy. And that is one of the big challenges we have in society in general, that a lot of people, it seems to me, among the political elite, certainly in the United Kingdom, I can't speak elsewhere, seem to be very detached from the reality of a lot of citizens, because actually it's all right for them. And that's a bad place that we're at. So, it is sometimes difficult to think that things will evolve in a better way at times, but we still have to keep believing that, I personally pray to God, Jesus Christ, if you like, and we have to pray that things will get better for anyone who is going through a long period of struggle. So, it's going to be a bit of a brief show this week because Alyssa's not feeling very well, but the key features for you is that stable, constructive relationships can get stronger, with the Sun and Mars forging very positive links to the stabilising energies of Saturn. Venus and Pluto tell us who we can really feel that connection with, but we have to sharpen up our listening skills with Mercury retrograde. And just be aware that some people are going to play power games and politics with that Pluto square on Mercury. And in terms of the show for week commencing the 4th, please drop us a line with any word of the week suggestions you have or your birthday details. And thank you so much for all your subscriptions, your comments, your lovely interaction, your encouragement, and also to our Patreons. And if you want your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, please see the link beneath this video. But for now, from the A-Team, it is
Goodbye from him.
and it's goodbye from her. Goodbye.